Hello there. My name is Jane.
Hey, Jane.
I'm not a Christian, but I do admire your tenacity to speak the truth.
Well, thank you for coming here.
Yeah, of course.
I appreciate it. Where would you say you are right now when it comes to thoughts about God?
Definitely agnostic, and I know you're going to say that makes me empty-minded because I've read your book.
No. What I said was in the book was that there are some things that you can know with relative certainty, and to deny those things, it wouldn't be open-mindedness, it would be empty-mindedness.
Yeah, exactly.
Okay,
empty-minded. Yeah.
Okay, but go ahead.
I have some various issues with your book. I'm sure a lot of it's outdated. The unity and diversity and like etymology is not correct, for example. But I'm just going to say one kind of general question. Why would a perfect God create imperfect beings? He has the power to alter the laws of the universe and logic if he has theoretically created the universe, but he actively chose to create a world in which sin has the capacity to exist and one where sin and suffering is necessary in order to appreciate good. Why couldn't he just create a world of all good that we could all accept that is perfectly good? Creating perfect beings would mean no mistakes in our judgment, which would mean no sin. Why could he not do that?
Okay, what you're saying is logically possible, but it might not be actual with free creatures. Because there's one thing that God can't do, and that is a contradiction. He can't force free creatures to do what he wants.
It's not forcing if we're all perfect with perfect minds who can reason that that's the correct answer.
Okay, but then if he doesn't give us free will to disobey, then there's no opportunity for love. Because love has to be freely given. Sure, God could have created a universe of robots, perfect robots that never break down, the code is always good, but would it be a moral universe if he did that?
Who knows? He's the one who created the law that we have to be imperfect to be moral.
No, I'm not following you there. What do you mean by that?
It mostly just in the sense that like simply having the capacity to sin doesn't mean that we would inherently sin should we have been created perfect. The fact that we did decide to stray means that we were created imperfectly.
No, not necessarily. You could give according to the Bible, you could give a creature free will, created beautiful like Satan, and if you give that creature the capacity to either obey or disobey, that creature has become a moral creature. And the same thing is true when it comes to Adam and Eve. When you say perfect, that needs to be unpacked. What does perfect mean? If perfect means that the person does not have the free will to disobey, I would argue that's not a perfect being. That's a robot.
Well, a robot comes from the modern sense of a robot.
Right. Well, in what sense would you mean that a being has free will and is not a robot and always chooses the right way?
Well, from this general argument, because the stance is that God exists and therefore did create the universe and the laws that follow it, perfect is essentially just whatever he says. Is it not?
Right, again, but if he's forcing people to obey him at all, in every instance, then they're not free, and therefore they're not moral.
He can make forcing impossible.
What's that?
He could make forcing just an impossibility.
No, that would be a contradiction. And by the way, logic is not invented. Logic comes from God's nature, just like morality and mathematics come from his nature. So he can't do illogical things, like he can't create a square circle or a one-ended stick or a five-sided triangle or an honest politician. What?
Did he not create logic?
No, he is logic. His nature is the ground of logic. So he couldn't create a world where the opposite of true is false, or a world where it wasn't that way. He couldn't create a world where God existed and not existed at the same time and in the same sense.
So he has infinite power except where he doesn't.
Power does not mean the power to do illogical things. It means power to do what is consistent with his nature. So God couldn't create free creatures and force them not to disobey him, because if he did, then they wouldn't be free. That'd be a contradiction.
I'm not saying anything about forcing. I'm saying that that theoretically he could have created perfect minds who would have like logically agreed because they were perfect. The ability to err is inherently imperfect.
No, the ability to err or disobey is the ability to either follow or not follow, and that's what morality is. So without morality, you don't have love. Of course, you don't have evil either, but you have a robot world.
Again, I just don't see how like somebody who created, and just the idea that God is logic, like that's inherently who he is, just I don't
Well,
know.
where do you think the laws of logic come from?
Well, in general, like we discover them.
We
Definitely.
did. Yeah, you're right. We discover them. We do not create them. So,
Yeah. But
what's the grounding of them?
Well, but he created everything. The grounding.
He didn't
of it-
create his own nature. His own nature always existed. So, he didn't create the laws of logic or the laws of mathematics. He couldn't create a universe where 2 + 2 = 5. Okay? So he is the ground. The buck has to stop somewhere. It stops with God's nature. So my question for people that don't believe in God is not just where did the universe come from, but where do the laws of logic come from? Where do the laws of mathematics come from? Where do the laws of morality come from? They appear to be best grounded in the nature of God.
Or they could be a completely third option that we as humans simply have not discovered yet, as we have not discovered many things for millions of years in our existence until recent days.
All right, let me ask you a question. It's either grounded in a being that transcends the world or not. If it's grounded in the laws of logic, if the laws of logic, I forgot where I was going now. This is illogical now, isn't it?
I think you were.
Let me ask you a question another way.
Okay, yeah.
Either the laws of logic are grounded in a mind or they're not. What makes more sense?
Why does it have to be a mind?
Because they're immaterial laws of thought.
Yeah. Just because we only know of the existence of a mind doesn't mean there couldn't be a third possible thing. That's what I'm saying. There's always a third possibility.
No, there's no third possibility between it's either grounded in a mind or it's not. There's no third possibility.
Why do you say that?
Because it's just the law of the excluded middle. It's either A or non-A. It's either a mind or not a mind.
Okay, so I say it could be not a mind, and that doesn't mean that it's nothing. It could just be something that isn't a mind that we have not discovered yet.
So you're finding qualities of a mind in a non-mind, essentially.
We as humans tend to project a lot of the things about our world onto the world around us. We could be projecting entirely the idea that it is a mind that created everything, and it's not a mind at all.
Yeah, we always reason from effect back to cause. You're right about that.
Mm-hmm.
Let me ask you a question. If Christianity were true, would you become a Christian?
I mean, probably, yeah.
So the answer is no then.
Well, what do you mean by that specifically?
If it turned out that God exists and Jesus predicted and accomplished his own resurrection from the dead to prove he was God, would you follow him?
So do you mean that everything in the Bible is 100% true as it's stated? I'm not necessarily talking about like the legalities of Noah's Ark or whatever, but like the Savior, the whatever.
Yeah, mere Christianity, the essentials of mere Christianity. There is a God, you are not him. You're fallen, I'm fallen. We violated the standard of justice, and we can't save ourselves. That God came into this universe, added humanity to his deity, took our punishment upon himself, and by trusting in him, we're not only forgiven, but given his righteousness, and he will come again to judge the living and the dead.
Well, then yes, absolutely. But the existence of Jesus, even if you manage to prove that he resurrected, doesn't prove that what the Bible teaches is true.
If he did predict and accomplish his own resurrection from the dead, the Bible has that right then. And if he truly did do that, then he would be God, and whatever he taught would be true. And if he taught the Old Testament was the Word of God and promised the New Testament, that's pretty good evidence that the Bible's true.
They're all fantastical claims that, and I know you did talk about this in your book, that require fantastical evidence, but if it's a fantastical evidence, then it's not a miracle. I know. But I'm just saying, like, you can't just keep jumping from one conclusion to another. Just because somebody rose from the dead, it doesn't mean that they are inherently connected to the infinite, all-powerful, all-knowing being.
Unless it was predicted in advance and it's in a religious, theological context, which is what happened with Jesus.
That is questionable based on the rewritings of Mark, which was the first gospel, but I feel like I've been up here too long.
Thank you so much. Thank you for coming.
Of course, yeah. Thank you for talking to me.
All right, God bless you. Appreciate it.